Many environmentalists claim that trade actually hurts the environment. And I say this is not really true. Now, you take something like logging, uh, cutting down the rainforest. That's been going on due to internal lack of valuation of the rainforest. It's not trade which is really causing that valuation. Given the fact that you don't value your rainforest, like 50 years ago, whoever thought about it? It has now come to the forefront. So our valuation of the environment has now improved and has been enhanced. So as long as we were not into valuing environment, certainly, that was a cause of a whole lot of environmental damage. It's, trade was not the cause of it. Trade has always existed. So now that we are mindful of the environment, we can have it compatibly with trade. So I think we are misassigning the cause and effect. That's the first point I would make. And you see, therefore, people wanting to, people therefore effectively putting a higher price on the environment, and people using techniques which are market oriented, like putting down permits which you have to buy if you're polluting the environment. That is a case where you didn't have a market and you're creating a market. Because typically you could just pollute a river, or you could pollute the air, like with sulfur dioxide, and you didn't have to pay for it. If you became unhealthy because I happen to be spewing out sulfur dioxide into the air, I don't have to pay for it. So this is a case of what we economists call a missing market. So we create the market. You see, in trade, most of the time we have markets. And when governments intervene for a variety of reasons, which are mostly crazy and counterproductive, they're actually messing up the markets and creating market failures, creating inefficiencies, and actually hurting the poor as well, and even the social agendas, as I was pointing out. But the environmentalist experience is exactly the opposite, because they say here are people polluting the environment. Nobody has to pay for it. That's clearly a market failure, and we want to therefore create the market, which will then help us deal with this issue. So in a way, if you think about it, it's really a market-friendly kind of complaint. And so I think most of us would say, as market-oriented free traders, that really the environmentalists have really now come on board, and they realize that essentially you need permits, you need carbon taxes, where you believe there's a need to reduce the global warming. Whether you believe in global warming is a separate. But if you do, and if you want to do something about it, you don't put quantitative restrictions, but you actually use a cap and trade system, which is one way of doing it. Another is to have a carbon tax. These are all complicated to administer, but the point is these are market-oriented incentives. And I think that is something completely compatible with the way we deal with trade. The problem is when you deal with, if you say you want to reduce trade in order to improve the environment, that is actually a complete muddle. Because what you want to do instead is to fix the pollution problem directly by having a polluter pay principle, permits and so on, right? Permits, taxes, whatever. And then have free trade to maximize the gains from trade. So when you try and use one policy, namely protectionism, in order to try and achieve some environmental objective, and then you're sacrificing the gains from trade, that's like, you're really trying to kill two birds with one stone, efficiency and environment, and you'll miss both. Typically, the protectionism is not the way to go. And so once you value the environment, go ahead and use the market system to fix that. Don't use a trade system and sacrifice that in order to achieve something which is totally, which has to be addressed directly through creation of a market there. So once you have two policies in place, free trade and environmental policy, then you're targeting to two objectives in the best possible way.